Brandon's introduced me. My name is Abdullah Al-Bahrani. I'm an associate professor of economics at Northern Kentucky University. I am also the director for the Center for Economic Education there. Please feel free to reach out to me via email or social media. This is a social media friendly presentation, so share, tag me at Dr. A. Al-Bahrani. I talked to you about a working paper that's been in the works for the past couple of years. It will be available in a month. And the paper is on the importance of educators and classroom management in our efforts to increase representation in the profession. The goal of my work is to provide educators with a collection of interventions to improve classroom management skills specifically, and hopefully better develop student-faculty interactions. What we know is What we know is it is well documented in economics that we have a diversity problem. We've seen in the past couple of months, there's been discussions on social media about us needing to face our issues and re-examine our culture and our profession. Women and minorities in economics are underrepresented. Only 32% of undergraduates women, and only 16% are minorities. The evidence of the leaky pipeline is evident in this table. By the time we get to the professor level, the share of women has fallen to 14%, and for minorities, it's dropped to 6.5%. The unfortunate thing is that this is mainly an economics problem. These graphs are provided by Baer and Rouse 2016, and it shows how far behind economics is to other disciplines. Women and minority representation and doctoral degrees lower than in business, STEM, and social sciences. So this is an economics problem. The lack of diversity happens for our profession. Bayer and Wilk 2019 show that higher rank institutions are even less diverse. And we know we have a hierarchy issue in economics, and due to this hierarchy issue, higher rank institutions have greater influence. They influence research, teaching, which leads to an influence on the economic outcomes. We therefore need more diversity in our profession. The way I see it is our profession has two problems. First, economics attracts less women and minorities into the major. Second, for women and minorities that do select into economics, they don't remain in the profession. So we must address our professional culture. Luckily, there are many people working on this. There's a lot of interventions being introduced at the graduate and professional level to minimize the leak. For a while, we ignored the role of undergrad economics education and how it can increase representation. This is where this audience can make a difference and join the effort in increasing the diversity of our profession. It is also where can make the biggest impact by attracting more diverse students, but also by creating a better academic culture. The interventions introduced at the undergraduate level can be summarized as following. First, mentoring and role models. Here, the goal is to increase interest by providing access to mentors and examples of and represented minorities. Examples of this intervention include women in economics clubs, the Sadie Collective, AA summer and mentoring programs. The second intervention is to provide better information about what economics is and what economists do. The attempt is to break the stereotype that economics is about money markets and actually show that economics has broader applications. The third intervention is to invest in instruction and content that helps increase diversity and inclusion. This can be curriculum driven or project example of this, or TOPS courses are a good example of this intervention. While these interventions are great and they are needed, there's been a lack of effort to address classroom management and student interaction. the role of faculty in the classroom and the need for interpersonal skills to interact with students, to create a welcoming environment has been ignored. And therefore, it's the focus of this research. In fact, it's been my experience that when interpersonal communication skills are brought up in economics education, it's often ignored. What we know from research is that economic educators lack training and preparation to teach. From data provided by McGoldrick, Hoyt, and Colander, and also by Allgood, Hoyt, and McGoldrick, we know that less than 50% of economic educators have received educator training. 67% of new assistant professors wish their graduate program prepared them to teach. And more importantly, 75% of new educators wish they received training on how to interact with students and manage a classroom. The most common approach to learn management and student interaction for economists is to learn by doing. My opinion is that this is ineffective, an ineffective way of learning, and the consequences are high. We need to provide educators with a foundation to start from before they even walk into the classroom. This is why I introduced beyond the syllabus interventions to classroom management and student interactions. These interventions are available to instructors and researchers that are willing to test for possible interventions to increase diversity and inclusion. The paper is designed similar to Sheridan, Hoyt, and Amazaki's 2014 paper for nurses. In my paper, I reference their work and I anchor my tips on previously established frameworks and the focus is on increasing diversity through classroom management. I tie my interventions to Columbia's Guide to Inclusive Teaching and the AEA's recently released Working with Students Best Practices. The summary of the main principles are on this table. And each principle that I provide has 3 interventions in the paper. And I also show how they connect with the Columbia's Guide and the AEA's best practice, others. And I summarize them here. So 1 is focus on belonging by being welcoming in the classroom. And I give interventions on how you actually could do that. 2, set clear expectations for yourself and for your students. 3, select course content with diversity in mind. 4, I urge you to create accessible content, especially with this move to online. Finally, and most importantly, something that I truly believe in and I wish more educators would do is develop a growth mindset for their students, but also for themselves teaching. Before I leave today, I have to be clear that I offer my perspective. I see the world through my own lens, my own identity. As a person of color that grew up in the US as an international student, my approach in the classroom is intertwined with my identity. To create a more welcoming classroom, we must listen to different perspectives to start to see the world from different lenses. The interventions are research, how I navigate classroom. We do need more perspectives in economic education. Time doesn't permit me to go into each of these interventions. So if you're interested in receiving the paper next month when it's ready for circulation, fill out the interest form on my website. You could do that by aiming your phone camera to this QR code and it will take you directly to the form. Fill it out and I will send you the paper when it's ready in July. Or you could use the website link that I'm providing here. I really appreciate your time. Thank you to the organizers once again, and I look forward to the breakouts. Thanks.